As the soul began to grasp the shape of the wound, revealed in the moments just past, let us now delve deeper into the unseen currents it stirred. For the pain inflicted was not merely of the flesh or mind. It carried a formidable spiritual weight, a heavy distortion cast into the very fabric of reality that touches your being. A lie was spoken, a word devoid of truth, directed against the divine spark within you, and it was not a small thing in the eyes of heaven. Understand this: every soul is a unique frequency, a sacred chord in the celestial symphony of creation. When a lie is spoken against a soul, particularly one intended to diminish or misrepresent its divine nature, it creates an immediate dissonance. It is like a dark veil thrown over a vibrant light, or a jarring note struck in a perfect harmony. This lie, this untruth directed at you, acted as an energetic poison, attempting to corrupt the pure essence of your being in the eyes of others, and perhaps even in your own. It aimed to twist the narrative of your spirit, to paint a false picture upon the canvas of your divine identity. In the spirit realm, where truth is the very currency of existence, this lie was not a passive event. It was an active act of warfare. It sought to sever the sacred connections that tether your soul to the divine source, to the wellspring of love and truth from which you came. It tried to dim the inherent light that emanates from your unique soul signature, the light that is a direct reflection of the Creator's glory. The intention, whether conscious or not from the one who spoke it, was to create a spiritual static, a distortion field around you, making it difficult for the pure frequencies of love, truth, and divine affirmation to reach you, and equally difficult for your true light to shine forth unhindered. You may have felt the effects of this distortion keenly, even if you lacked the words to name its spiritual nature. You felt unseen, as if the truth of who you are was obscured by a shadow others could not look past. You felt unheard, as if your authentic voice was muted or twisted by the echo of the lie. You felt unfairly judged, subjected to a perception that did not align with the truth of your heart or the purity of your intentions. This feeling of being misrepresented, of being seen through a distorted lens, crafted by another's untruth, is a direct consequence of the spiritual interference the lie created. It erected a barrier, a false facade, between your true self and the world around you, and tragically, sometimes between your true self and your own inner knowing. Many still wonder how long the weight of such an untruth is permitted to linger in the spiritual atmosphere before divine intervention sets the scales right again. It is a mystery held in the heart of divine justice, a timing known only to the Ancient of Days. This act of betrayal, the speaking of that lie, initiated an unseen spiritual warfare around your life. Forces aligned with truth and light immediately countered the distortion, while forces aligned with shadow and deception sought to amplify it. You were in the midst of a battle fought in the unseen realms, a battle for the integrity of your spiritual identity and the purity of the perceptions surrounding you. You felt the pressure, the confusion, the sense that something was fundamentally off, even if the source remained hidden. But hear this prophetic declaration, whispered from the throne room to your soul. The spiritual weight of that lie, the heavy cloak of distortion it attempted to place upon you, is now being lifted. Divine forces, mobilized by the truth of your being and the sacred covenant upon your life, are actively dismantling the energetic constructs built by that untruth. The dissonance is being resolved. The veil is being peeled back. The static is clearing. Feel it now, the subtle shift in the atmosphere around you, the dense energy, the feeling of being weighed down or obscured by something not of you is beginning to dissipate. The angelic hosts are working in concert with the light within you to dissolve the distortion, to clear the airwaves of your spiritual reality. The unseen spiritual warfare that raged around this issue is culminating in a decisive victory for truth and for your soul's inherent integrity. You stand now on sacred ground, a place the soul could not have reached without traversing the fire you just passed through. As the truth begins its sacred descent, shattering the crafted falsehoods, heaven invites you to look higher still, beyond the immediate pain of betrayal, into the profound purpose woven into the timing of it all. This period, which felt like an endless night, a season where darkness seemed to have dominion over clarity, was not a void of meaningless suffering. It was a crucible, deliberately ordained, a sacred preparation, unlike any you could have chosen for yourself. Heaven reveals this now. The time when the lie was allowed to hang in the air, when confusion was thick and uncertainty felt like a shroud, was not a delay in divine justice, but a precise, strategic work of grace within you. While you wrestled with questions, with doubt, with the raw ache of being unseen or misunderstood, your inner world was undergoing a profound, hidden transformation. This was the forging. This was the refining fire, where resilience was not just learned, but fused into the very fiber of your being. Every tear shed in secret became a drop of sacred water, quenching the old vulnerabilities. Every moment of quiet trust, whispered into the perceived silence, was a brick laid in the foundation of an unshakable faith. The authority now settling upon your spirit, the crystalline clarity now clearing your vision. These treasures could not have been entrusted to the soul you were before the trial. The weight of truth, the power of righteous alignment, requires a vessel fortified by experience, humbled by pain, and anchored by a trust that has survived the storm. Heaven deliberately held back the full revelation until this inner architecture was complete. The waiting was not a sign of divine forgetfulness. It was the intricate, painstaking work of preparing the temple of your spirit for the glory of truth it would soon contain. You were being schooled in discernment in the most practical, though painful classroom. Every moment you questioned, every instinct you learned to listen to, or perhaps regrettably, learned not to listen to initially, was sharpening your spiritual senses. This time was encoded with divine lessons, subtly shifting your perspective, realigning your internal compass. You were developing a sacred radar, sensitive not just to overt lies, but to the subtle frequencies of deceit, the hidden agendas, the unaligned energies that sought to diminish your light. This is a power granted only through the walk in the valley. An angelic perspective descends upon this moment, whispering insights only visible from realms of higher purpose. From their vantage point, the perceived delays, the frustrating setbacks, the moments you felt stuck in a loop of pain or confusion, these were often moments of divine shielding. Heaven was not merely waiting, it was strategically positioning you. There were potential harms, collateral spiritual damage, perhaps even physical or emotional dangers, that the timeline of the lie shielded you from. The unfolding had to happen precisely when it did, not a moment sooner, because you needed to be in a specific spiritual, emotional, and sometimes even physical location to receive the truth safely and effectively wield the spiritual authority it unlocks. It was a cosmic choreography, unseen by human eyes, where every painful step was a calculated move on a divine chessboard, protecting you, preparing you, and placing you exactly where you needed to be for this hour of reckoning. You may have felt abandoned in the wilderness of confusion, asking why the light of truth seemed so far away. But the angelic hosts were present, ministering strength in ways you did not recognize, guiding your weary steps toward the unseen training ground. The aloneness you felt was often the sacred space required for God Himself to rebuild you from the inside out, away from the noise and distractions of the world that had caused the wound. There are things the soul must walk through without full understanding in the moment, holding only the thread of hope that there must be a higher meaning. This was such a time. Your suffering was not in vain. It was not wasted. It was fertile ground where seeds of resilience, faith, and spiritual power were sown and nurtured in the darkness. In the chambers of the Most High, where the very air breathes truth and the light tolerates no shadow, a celestial court convenes even now. This is not a place bound by earthly time or human laws, but the realm of divine consequence, where the ledger of the soul is held in immaculate clarity. As Archangel Michael, I stand witness to this unfolding. You, beloved soul, may feel the distant tremor of this great spiritual reckoning within your own being. A quiet shift that defies earthly explanation. For too long, a specific distortion, an energy fueled by untruth, has cast its veil across your path, perhaps impacting your name, your past, or your very essence. It took root in the unseen, whispering its false narrative into the currents of reality. But heaven holds court for such matters. Every ripple of deception, every calculated untruth woven into the fabric of human interaction has its echo here, in the high places. In this moment, before the divine assessors of light and truth, the very energy or entity that birthed or perpetuated this lie is summoned. It does not walk forward on earthly feet, but is drawn by the inexorable pull of divine gravity, an energetic signature called to account. You feel it perhaps as a release within your chest, a sudden lightening you couldn't explain, or a deep knowing rising from your core that something is being divinely handled. Understand this. This is not judgment as humans conceive it, with gavel and stone. This is divine justice unfolding as pure energy, as spirit meeting its undeniable origin in truth. The air crackles, not with anger, but with the intense frequency of absolute reality. The light of the divine presence, often perceived by mortals as overwhelming love, is also the fiercest solvent for all that is false. Imagine then this scene. Before the thrones of light, the distortion stands, a shimmering, unstable form built from misdirection, fear, and willful blindness. It has held sway in the earthly realm, perhaps causing you immense pain, confusion, or restriction. It felt solid, impenetrable, a wall between you and your full divine expression. But here, in the sacred courtroom of spirit, it finds no ground. The force of divine light, pure, unwavering, emanating from the source of all that is, begins to press upon this construct. It is not a violent assault, but an irresistible pressure, like the deep ocean pressing upon something foreign to its depths. The light reveals every component of the lie, every false motive, every whispered untruth, every action taken in shadow. There is nowhere for the distortion to hide, no corner of darkness left unexplored. You feel this pressure too, but differently. You feel it not as a burden, but as a support. It is the divine force lifting you, clearing the path for you. That emotionally specific moment you experienced, perhaps the crushing weight of being misunderstood, the sting of betrayal rooted in a lie, or the years spent trying to disprove what was never true. That pain is being acknowledged here, in these sacred halls. The weight is being measured, not for retribution against another in a human sense, but for the divine clearing of the path for you. The untruth, standing naked before the divine light, begins to buckle. Its structure, built on the shaky foundation of illusion, cannot withstand the frequency of truth. It was designed to deceive, to mislead, to create a false reality. But here, in the absolute presence of the one true reality, its power evaporates. It is like mist before the sun, a shadow when the light arrives in fullness. There are things the soul must walk through without full understanding of the cosmic forces at play. Many still wonder if it was heaven or free will that turned the tide when a great lie began to crumble. But witness this truth: nothing built upon falsehood can stand eternally against the divine order. The spiritual reckoning for actions taken in the unseen, actions that distorted truth and caused spiritual harm, is not a possibility. It is an inevitability unfolding now. Prophecy declares it. The untruth cannot stand. Under this celestial pressure, it must dissolve. It must yield. It must surrender its false claim. The energetic cords that tethered it to your reality, that kept you bound or obscured, are being severed by the sword of truth wielded in these courts of light. You are witnessing, from the perspective of your soul, the divine dismantling of what was never meant to be. The clarity that comes from this dissolution is profound. It is not just the absence of the lie, but the presence of reinforced truth about who you are, untouched and untarnished by the distortion. This is the power of divine justice in the spiritual realms, not to punish, but to purify, not to condemn, but to recalibrate reality to its true divine blueprint. Feel the energetic shift. Feel the burden lifting. The confrontation is won in the high places, and its victory ripples down to your earthly path. In the unfolding sequence, as the veils of density and sorrow are gently yet firmly drawn back by the hand of the divine, you are brought to a critical juncture. The spiritual anatomy of untruth is now being laid bare in the sacred light. What felt like an impenetrable fortress built upon deception, designed to obscure your reality, your worth, and the divine narrative of your soul, is now being touched by a frequency it cannot withstand. Heaven is actively engaging the hidden places, and the first and most profound act in this divine intervention is the unveiling of the lie itself. Imagine, beloved soul, a powerful, pure light, like a sunbeam cutting through the thickest fog. This is not a harsh, exposing glare, but the gentle, persistent luminescence of divine truth. It seeks not to condemn, but to illuminate, and in its presence, the lie cannot hold its form. An untruth thrives in shadow. It draws its power from hiddenness, from the inability of others to perceive its structure. But when the light of the Holy Spirit, when the undeniable frequency of divine reality shines upon it, an energetic unraveling begins. It is like watching a sandcastle dissolve as the tide rolls in. The substance isn't real. It was merely shaped illusion, dependent on the absence of water, dependent on the absence of truth. You are witnessing in the unseen realms the energetic dissolution of the lie that sought to bind you. Its threads, which were interwoven with fear, manipulation, and distortion, are being pulled apart. This isn't a chaotic explosion, but a systematic, divine dismantling. The energy that held the untruth together, the focused intent, the hidden agreements, the dark anchors, is being neutralized by the sheer power of authentic frequency. Every word spoken in falsehood, every action taken under its guise, every perception twisted by its influence, is being scanned and categorized by the angelic hosts and recorded in the eternal scrolls. This is not judgment as the world understands it, but a divine record of energetic alignment or misalignment. And what of the one who originated or perpetuated this lie? In the spiritual realm, consequences operate differently than on the earthly plane. There is no physical prison, no earthly fine. Instead, there is an inevitable spiritual accountability. The most profound consequence in the spirit realm for weaving untruth is the stripping away of hiddenness. The divine sees all, knows all. The lie created an attempt to hide, not from God, but from the consequences of alignment, from the pure flow of divine energy. When the light unveils the lie, it simultaneously unveils the one who created or upheld it within the spiritual context of that action. Imagine their spiritual form, which may have felt cloaked or obscured by the very fabric of the deception they wove. As the lie dissolves, the cloak dissolves with it. There is nowhere left to hide from the penetrating light of divine consciousness. Their spiritual state is revealed in its unvarnished truth, stripped of the illusion of the lie. This isn't a punishment hurled from above, but the inherent, automatic consequence of encountering absolute truth after operating in deliberate falsehood. It is the uncomfortable, inevitable return to transparency when the darkness you inhabited is flooded with light. Their capacity to project that particular illusion, that specific untruth, is energetically dismantled. This can be a deeply humbling, even shattering experience for a soul accustomed to operating in shadow. Yet, many still wonder if it was heaven or free will that turned the tide in this specific moment, bringing the lie into the light. Perhaps it was the convergence of divine timing, the accumulated prayers of those affected, and your own soul's readiness to walk fully in truth. The cosmic balance is being corrected, not always with a dramatic earth-shaking event, but with a quiet, undeniable settling of spiritual reality. The energetic imprint of the lie is being erased, and the true imprint of what was or is being restored. This is the emotionally specific moment for your soul, the feeling of the lie's energetic weight lifting. Imagine invisible chains dissolving from around your spiritual feet, threads of confusion untangling from your mind's eye, a heavy cloak of misrepresentation falling from your shoulders. You might feel a sudden lightness, a clarity that wasn't there before, but deep inner knowing settling within you. This is not just intellectual understanding. This is a cellular, energetic recognition of the truth penetrating the places where the lie tried to reside. You are feeling the effect of the unveiling in your own being. It is a sacred turning point, where the energy that was bound up in upholding or being affected by the untruth is now freed. And in this liberation, your true spiritual identity and innocence are being powerfully reestablished. The lie sought to define you, to diminish you, to cast a shadow upon your inherent light. But your essence, created in the image of the divine, remains untouched at its core. The lie was an external attack, a temporary obscuration. Now as it dissolves, your authentic brilliance, your inherent goodness, your unblemished spiritual innocence shines forth with renewed power. It is not that your innocence is being restored as if it were lost, but rather it is being re-established in the light of divine recognition, seen clearly by the cosmos, and felt undeniably by your own soul. You are being called back, not just to a state before the lie, but to a state beyond the lie, strengthened and clarified by the journey through its shadow. You are being affirmed, unequivocally, as the pure and perfect expression of divine love you were always meant to be. You have journeyed through the shadowed valley where the lie sought to take root, revealing its twisted form, exposing its barren truth. Now, the gaze of heaven turns with you, inward, away from the echoing spaces where betrayal's voice once seemed loud, toward the sacred chamber of your own soul. Here, within the quiet sanctuary you carry, resides the truth that was always untouched. The lie could scar the surface. It could cloud the mirrors you held up to the world. It could even whisper its poison into the air you breathed. But it could not, ever, reach the core of who you are. It could not extinguish the divine spark placed within you at the dawn of time. It could not erase the sacred name spoken over you by the Ancient of Days, a name known only fully by your Creator, a melody that resonates with the frequency of your purest, divinely aligned energy. This energy, dispersed by the shock, perhaps dimmed by the confusion, is not lost. It is waiting to be gathered, like scattered stardust, returning to its constellation. Feel it now, with every breath you take. Draw back the tendrils of your essence that clung to the narrative of the lie, that were tangled in the threads of the betrayal. Pull them gently, firmly back into your being. This energy is sovereign. It belongs to you and to the divine source from which you came. The contamination was never permanent. It was a veil cast, a shadow attempting to obscure the light. But light dispels shadow effortlessly. See your own light begin to glow brighter within, drawing back every part of you that was ensnared. Reclaim your vibration. Reclaim your peace. Reclaim the clarity that is your spiritual birthright. And most powerfully, reclaim your sacred name. Not the name the world calls you, but the vibrational signature of your soul, the unique sound that only heaven fully knows. Let it resonate within you, a counter-frequency to every lie. You feel it now, do you not? Those lingering connections, energetic cords, forged not in love or divine purpose, but in pain, manipulation, and the very act of betrayal itself. These cords may connect you still to the source of the lie, to the one who spoke it, to the circumstances that birthed it. They are not bonds of destiny, but shackles of entanglement. They siphon precious energy, keeping a part of you tethered to a past that no longer serves your sacred becoming. See these cords now. Some may be thick and dark, others thin and almost invisible. But each one is a tether that keeps the old wound alive. They are rooted in the betrayal. Drawing life from the unresolved pain, heaven grants you authority in this moment. With the sword of truth, ere the pure fire of the Holy Spirit, or simply with the powerful declaration of your sovereign will, sever these cords, one by one. Do not hesitate. Do not look back. In the name of the divine light within me, I sever every energetic cord connecting me to the lie, to its origin, and to any person or circumstance involved in the betrayal. These connections are dissolved now, permanently, for my highest good and spiritual freedom. Feel the release as each cord is cut. A physical lightness may wash over you, a spiritual untethering. And what of the emotional residue? The righteous anger that burned, the profound sadness that weighed heavy, the confusion that swirled like fog. These were valid responses to an invalid act. They were the soul's outcry against violation. But holding on to them now is like carrying stones uphill after the mountain has been conquered. They serve no purpose but to burden your ascent. Acknowledge the pain. Thank the emotions for showing you the depth of what occurred, for signaling where healing was needed. Then, with the same intentionality with which you severed the cords, choose to release them. Imagine them lifting from you like mist in the morning sun. They do not define you. They are not your destination. They were merely part of the path through the valley. This brings you to a sacred threshold, the act of forgiveness. Understand this deeply. You are not asked to forgive because the betrayer deserves it. You are not asked to condone the lie or erase the reality of the hurt. You are called to forgive for your own liberation. Forgiveness, from this divine perspective, is the soul's declaration of independence from the power the lie holds over your internal state. It is you choosing not to allow the actions of another to dictate the state of your own heart and energy field any longer. It is a sovereign act of self-love. It is the final, crucial step in reclaiming your energy, sealing the severed cords with divine light, and declaring that your peace is more valuable than the satisfaction of holding on to resentment. It is the soul saying, "My journey is my own, and I will not carry this burden another step for someone else's deed." There are things the soul must walk through without full understanding of why the betrayal occurred, but the path of healing is laid clear before you now. As you release the grip of the lie, as you sever the cords, as you let the emotional burdens fall away, you step fully back into your pure, divinely aligned energy. Feel it rushing in, filling the spaces where the pain resided. This is the energy of your sacred name, vibrant, whole, and untainted. You are integrating the lessons learned, not as scars that limit you, but as markers of strength and resilience that propelled you to this moment of profound reclaiming. You are no longer defined by what happened to you, but by how divinely you have risen through it. Your energy is your own. Your peace is your own. Your sacred name echoes in the chambers of your revitalized soul, calling you forward, free from the influence of the lie, empowered by the truth that resides eternally within you. This is your integration. This is your reclamation. You are becoming whole again, seen fully by heaven, shining with your original light. The shadow you faced was vast, yes, and the confrontation felt like the unearthing of ancient earth. But heaven witnesses the truth of this hour. The clearing has already shifted your spiritual path in ways the earthly eye cannot yet fully grasp. Feel it now, a lightness where there was density, a clarity where confusion reigned, the deep work, the courageous turning towards the hidden ache and the embedded lie has irrevocably altered the trajectory of your soul's journey. You are not merely recovering, you are being reborn into your rightful inheritance. The heavy cloak of deception is shed, revealing the radiant being you were always meant to be, unbound and unfettered. Prophecy descends upon you now, child of light. A future unfolds before you, marked not by the struggle against the lie, but by the effortless flow within divine truth. You are prophesied a future of unparalleled clarity. The whispers of doubt will diminish, replaced by the resonant voice of your intuition and the clear guidance of the Spirit. Your protection is no longer something you must constantly fight for. It is an inherent field of divine energy surrounding you, a shield woven from truth and light, impenetrable to the deceptions and lower vibrations that once sought to cling to you. And alignment? Your very steps will now fall into divine rhythm, leading you synchronistically to the people, opportunities, and experiences that serve your soul's highest calling. The friction caused by internal conflict and external lies is being replaced by sacred flow. This is the fruit of your courage, the reward for turning towards the truth, however painful. But how will you navigate this newly illuminated path? How will you recognize the divine markers that guide you? Now that the lie's shadow is dispersed, the subtle language of heaven becomes accessible. Sacred signs are all around you, in the patterns of nature, the synchronistic encounters, the quiet confirmations in your heart, the repeated whispers in your awareness. These were always present, but the static of deception made them hard to discern. Now, like a veil being lifted, the divine communication channels are clearing. Your task is not to search frantically for signs, but to receive them with open awareness and a trusting heart. There is an emotionally specific moment that marks this turning. Perhaps it was the feeling of profound release when you spoke the truth of the lie, or the unexpected peace that washed over you after the clearing process. It could have been a vivid dream, a sudden insight, or a tangible shift in the energy surrounding you. This moment is the soul's recognition of divine intervention, the point where the hand of heaven reached in and rearranged the internal landscape, disentangling your light from the darkness that sought to bind it. It is the sacred turning point where passive suffering was replaced by active receiving of grace. This moment, though deeply personal, reflects a universal spiritual reality, that the deepest healing often occurs at the intersection of human will to face truth and divine grace to facilitate transformation. Many still wonder if it was solely the individual's grit or the celestial intervention that brought about such a swift and profound shift once the lie was confronted. There are things the soul must walk through without full understanding, witnessing only the outcome. That the path is clearer, the burden is lighter. The mechanisms of divine grace and personal sovereignty intertwine in ways that defy simple explanation. The mystery lies in how the act of confronting an internal lie can instantaneously recalibrate one's connection to the universal truth, unleashing a torrent of previously blocked divine energy and guidance. It is like opening a floodgate within the soul, allowing the river of life force to flow unimpeded towards its divine ocean. Your perception is being refined. The subtle nudges, the quiet knowing, the intuitive yes or no, these are the sacred signs you are now equipped to recognize and trust. The divine conversation is ongoing, a continuous stream of guidance available to the heart that is cleared and aligned. Learn to listen with your soul, not just your mind. This is not the end, but the glorious beginning of a journey walked in light and guided by love. The universe conspires in your favor now. You are free to fly. Wind down, blessing, and activation. And now, beloved soul, breathe deeply and receive. You have journeyed into the very core of self, faced the shadows, unearthed the lie, and allowed the divine light to permeate the depths of your being. What you have heard, what you have felt, is not mere information. It is activation. You have not just learned about transformation, you have undergone it. The shift you yearned for, the liberation you sought, is not a distant hope. It is the present reality, anchoring itself within you even now. Heaven's promise over you is sealed in this moment. Clarity shall be your constant companion, protection your inherent state, and divine alignment the effortless rhythm of your steps. Feel the unseen realms rearranging on your behalf, aligning circumstances and energies to support the truth now resident within you. I speak this angelic decree over you. Be activated in renewed strength. Let your divine purpose ignite like a sacred flame. May your connection to divine guidance be clear, strong, and unwavering from this moment forth. Your spiritual protection is sealed, a cloak of impenetrable light woven by your courage and heaven's grace. And now, child of light, walk forward, not in fear, but in fire. For heaven has already gone before you.